In this video, I'm going to be guiding you on how to effectively apply real-world examples to your 15-mark questions for Paper 1. I want to stress that the real-world examples is not a memory test. You are not expected to have extensive research on the company. You don't need to memorize the exact numbers such as percentage of market share, unemployment rates, or how much debt the US government is in to the dollar. As long as your real-world example is reasonable, this will be more than sufficient. More on this later as we go through the example script. The theory in your 50-mark question is more important than the accuracy of your real-world examples. So if you are able to use the real-world example as a guide, or metaphorically a compass, the economic theory articulated based on your reasonable real-world example will add significantly more value to your 50-mark question as opposed to an accurate data point. And lastly, your real-world example can be qualitative or quantitative. If you haven't seen my video on structuring a paragraph for any question, please check the link in the description below. Ideally, you will start introducing your real-world example after your identification of point. Then you will be using economic theory to develop chains of logical reasoning based on your real-world example. So your real-world example is the narrative that enhances your explanation and outcome. I'm going to show you a student example that scored relatively highly. Using real-world examples, discuss the impact of large firms having significant market power. Throughout this script, I have highlighted in red the real-world example, and I've made bold the key points of this script. The candidate here starts off by defining what a monopoly is, and then they introduce their real-world example. So De Beers is a diamond company. They started in 1888 in the 21st century. They had no substitutes, and they were the only ones producing diamonds. Now, if you fact-check this, you will most likely find there's some errors in this text. Because the script has a high degree of reasonableness, this real-world example is sufficient. Now, the next two paragraphs is the theory behind monopolies in the context of De Beers. Due to high barriers to entry, they have significant market share, and this monopoly also produces a unique good, which has no substitutes. In order for the monopoly to increase profits, they operate at a profit maximizing level of MC equals MR. And at this point, this is when the ATC is below the price level. Now you can see in this paragraph there isn't much reference to De Beers, but the economic theory and chains of logical reasoning is strong. And then the final paragraph here is due to the monopolists holding a significant portion of the market share, they are able to make abnormal profits, and the abnormal profits received by De Beers is shown in figure 1 in the shaded area. This is when they are referencing a diagram that they have drawn. This is a single paragraph that this candidate has written. I have split this into 3 sections so you can see how it aligns with my idea model in terms of structuring a paragraph. Let me show you. The candidate here has identified that barriers to entry is one of the key points to large firms, and this is evidenced here. The candidate has used De Beers as their real-world example and said that they are a diamond-producing company, they have no substitutes, and they have a significant market share. And this is referenced here. And then they have explained the impact of high barriers to entry using chains of logical reasoning, and they have illustrated their point on the diagram. And this is evidenced in this paragraph here. And the final paragraph is that they have assessed what they've written and they've linked it back to the question. Here. The next few paragraphs will follow a very similar structure. Because De Beers has a significant portion of the market share since 1888, they have invested in research and development in diamond-making procedures. This has allowed De Beers to grow rapidly, benefiting from economies of scale. We have the real-world example in the red here, and the candidate has identified a second impact of a monopoly, which is that they benefit from economies of scale. Then they further explained this and said that they invest in improved technology, which will gain them further market share. And they're also able to benefit from financial or technical economies of scale, making De Beers more efficient in their diamond production process. You can see that in this section, yet again, the real-world example is reasonable and the economic theory is developed through the example of De Beers. The next part is that the candidate says that De Beers is able to grow without hindrance, as they have the majority shareholder in the diamond market. This results to De Beers having no incentive to be efficient in their diamond production. And having no incentive to be efficient is another impact of large firms. And this was explained using the reasonable real-world example of De Beers. And the next part here is the economic theory explained using chains of logical reasoning why a monopoly has no incentive to be efficient. Due to a lack of substitutes, they can set their own price, and Figure 1 shows that the monopoly is unable to produce at the allocative efficient level of MC equals AR, or the productivity efficient level of output, which is MC equals AC. This means that they are producing at a profit maximizing level, and De Beers will be unable to maximize social welfare and will have no incentive to lower its prices. As you can see, this is highly theoretical, but yet is through the lens of De Beers. And the next section here is the evaluation. This type of market power has lasting effects on its stakeholders. While the firm benefits from supernormal profits, they might abuse their market power by setting prices too high, and customers may not afford it, as they are forced to pay the price set by De Beers, and with a lack of substitutes, De Beers is better off. Other producers in the market will suffer as De Beers finds new ways to gain market share, leaving others with less. However, consumers may benefit through higher product quality. Due to their abnormal profits, they can use it for research and development. Workers may also benefit as more people will be hired, causing the unemployment rate to fall. Government also benefits. They also get tax revenue from De Beers via corporation tax. But in order to tackle large firms, they could implement anti-monopoly legislation to ensure monopolies abide by regulations and maintain controlled growth. As you can see from the script, this was not a memory test, and the examples given had a heavy degree of reasonableness to it. There was no specific numbers or specific thing that De Beers did, but you could generally tell that the script was more theoretical as opposed to memorizing facts and figures. If any of you are wondering what this script scored within the level 5 band. Whether you think I agree with that or not, that's up to you to find out. That's a mark between 13 and 15 marks. And the fact that this script scored so highly was based on the reasonableness of the real-world example and not its accuracy. Let me prove that to you. So here's a fact sheet on De Beers. De Beers was a near monopoly and they only coordinated purchasing output from other producers. They manipulated the prices by operating as a cartel and they stockpiled diamonds. They made sure that there wasn't too much supply in the market, therefore manipulating the price. They also used their profits to manufacture demand, and not for technical innovation like the script said. They manufactured the ad, "Diamonds are forever," which artificially boosted demand for diamonds. They actually abused their workers and operated closed compound systems under strict surveillance and restricted movements. As you can see, there are many factual inaccuracies, but that doesn't matter because the reasonableness of the real-world example was sufficient and the theory was articulated well through the lens of the reasonable real-world example. I hope that helped. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.